Individuals who have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, are diagnosed based on symptoms that include inattention, hyperactivity, impulsivity, or both. For children and adolescents, these symptoms must cause significant difficulties or impairments in 2 or more settings, like the home or school environment. They must have been observed as occurring for at least 6 months or longer and must have been noticed before the age of 12. Recent research suggests that youth diagnosed with ADHD are 2 to 3 times more likely to use tobacco as compared to their peers who do not have ADHD. The reasons for this relationship are not fully clear, but there is some evidence to suggest that tobacco use in this population may be multifactorial, including genetic, biobehavioral, and social factors. For example, studies have found shared genetic pathways that likely increase vulnerability to initiation and maintenance of tobacco use among those with ADHD. In addition, nicotine, a stimulant, seems to be able to improve attention while reducing impulsivity and hyperactivity among people with ADHD. Moreover, for youth with ADHD, their impulsivity may make them more prone to trying and initiating tobacco products at an early age. Of particular interest among high school students, there may be a greater risk of electronic use among those who have ADHD. Thus, it is particularly important to screen for tobacco products in this age group. Current issues. 15-year-old male, currently having a checkup at the Adolescent Behavioral Health Clinic. He's visiting his mental health care provider in order to assess treatment progress after starting new attention deficit hyperactivity disorder ADHD medications. New medications are overall effective and patient is responding well to treatment. Psychiatric history. He started having noticeable poor attention and hyperactivity symptoms from the age of 6. He regularly sees a psychiatric nurse practitioner at the local adolescent behavioral health clinic. Other than ADHD, he is healthy. Social. He lives at home with his mother, father, and 3 siblings. He's very active in sports, school activities, and church functions. He likes playing video games with his friends and just hanging out on the weekends. He is a B+ student. Medical history, not remarkable. Had his tonsils removed at age of 6. He began vaping approximately 5 months ago after being offered to vape by his friends. He uses vapes on a daily basis, usually after school and especially on the weekends when hanging out with his friends. His parents are unaware of his use of vapes. As a review, the steps in the 5 A's are: ask about tobacco use, advise to stop use, assess readiness to stop use, assist to stop use, arrange for follow-up and support. Ask.
Now that we've gotten your ADHD medication squared away, I'd like to ask you a few routine questions about substance use, okay?
You mean like drugs and alcohol and stuff? I don't do any drugs, and I don't drink at all. My dad would kill me if I did any of that.
Well, that's good that you don't do any drugs and you don't drink. What about tobacco use? Do you use any tobacco products?
No, I don't do any of that either. It's nasty. My Uncle Ricardo used to smoke, and he got emphysema or something. Real bad. I don't want any of that.
That's great that you don't smoke cigarettes. But just to make sure I cover the basics, do you use any chew tobacco, pipes, cigars, or vapes?
Oh, yeah, I vape. But I don't do any of the other stuff. Vaping isn't really like smoking, you know.
Well, what have you heard about vaping? Like, what type of vape products do you use?
Everyone at school's doing it. It's really safe because you aren't taking in any smoke in your lungs or nothing.
Well, what do you like about vaping?
I guess I like the flavor. I like the mint flavor. It helps to chill me out sometimes. Like sometimes when I'm just kind of angsty. You know, especially after coming back from school and my ADHD medicine's wearing off, you know? Kind of helps me to focus and I don't know, it just feels good.
So it sounds like you like the flavor. And vaping sometimes helps you to calm down a bit and even focus, especially after coming back from school?
Yeah.
Are there some things you found that you don't like about vaping?
Well, to be honest, my parents don't know that I vape. I don't think they'd like it if they found out.
Anything else?
Well, it is a bit expensive. I mean, it's not that cheap even though I usually get a good deal.
Have you noticed if it's affected your breathing or your lungs?
No. I don't think so. Can it?
There's been some recent reports that it can affect your lungs' health.
Really? I haven't heard about that.
Is it okay if I share some information about how vaping or smoking can affect your health?
Sure.
Using any form of tobacco products is not without harm, especially when you are smoking or vaping. Anytime you inhale anything other than clean air, you increase the risk of damaging your lungs. For example, cigarettes have over 600 ingredients, which when combined produce over 7,000 chemicals, of which several are known to cause cancers to do damage to the lungs. So, I'm glad you aren't using those. However, although vapes may not have quite as many chemicals, recent research shows that they are actually aerosols. This means that e-cigarettes actually contain many fine particles and liquids, some of which are irritants to the lungs at very fine levels.
Really? What kind of particles are these?
Well, as an example, some researchers have found formaldehyde in e-cigarette vapors. Formaldehyde is used as a preservative. Although it is usually not too problematic when eaten, breathing it in has been linked to cancer. In addition, e-cigarettes contain some trace elements and metals, which should not be in the lungs. There is an increased risk of harm to the lungs when inhaling formaldehyde and other chemicals on a regular basis.
That's awful.
Yeah, it is.
Advise.
So having such knowledge, I am really concerned of your long-term health, and as your healthcare provider, I would strongly encourage you to stop. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I probably should stop. But I don't really feel sick or anything. And it kind of helps me focus a bit, you know?
I can imagine that thinking about stopping can be a bit challenging, but I'm here to help if you're ready, okay?
Okay, I'll think about it.
Assess.
Okay, why don't we fill out a questionnaire together to get a sense of where you are? This questionnaire is called the Hooked on Nicotine Checklist. It can give us a pretty good idea of how hooked you may be and to help us come up with a strategy for you to stop using it when you're ready. How does that sound?
Yeah, sure. I'm kind of curious to see where I am.
This is a questionnaire with 10 questions with either a yes or no response. No question is right or wrong, so just answer the questions based on your current feelings and experience.
Okay.
Have you ever tried quitting but couldn't?
Nope.
Do you vape now because it's really hard to quit?
Nah, not really.
Have you ever felt like you were addicted to?
I guess. Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe, I never thought like addicted, but I thought maybe I'd do it a bit. Like, a lot. I don't know.
What do you think? Should I mark a yes or a no?
Well, let's say like a yes for now.
Okay. Do you ever have strong cravings?
Oh yeah, it's funny you say that. Like yesterday when my dad yelled at me because I didn't do so good on a test, you know, all I wanted to do was go vape a bit just to calm down, you know. So, yeah.
Have you ever felt like you really needed to vape?
Yep, like I said, when my dad yells at me or when I really start getting anxious with my ADHD.
Is it hard to keep from vaping in places where you're not supposed to?
Well, you know, me and my friends, we sometimes vape, but in the bathroom at school. I know we aren't supposed to at school, but sometimes we do anyway, so yeah. Oh, are we like addicted or something?
Well, let's finish up the questions and see. When you haven't used vapes in a while, did you find it hard to concentrate because you couldn't vape?
That's tricky. Vaping really helps me concentrate, so I don't think it's because I haven't used it for a while. I think it's usually like when my ADHD medicine's wearing off or something. You know.
Well, when you haven't used vapes in a while, did you feel more irritable because you couldn't?
I guess so. I use vape like every day, you know. So when I miss a day, I just feel more angsty and a bit snappier. So yeah, I guess, yeah.
When you haven't used vapes for a while, do you feel a strong need or urge to vape?
That is a definite yes.
Well, if you haven't used vapes for a while, have you ever felt nervous, restless, or anxious because you couldn't?
Usually I feel angsty and restless because of my ADHD. So I fear that vaping helps with that. I don't know if I feel that way because I haven't used vapes in a while. Could I?
Perhaps. And even if we respond no to this last question, overall you have scored a 6 out of 10, which suggests that you may be hooked on vapes or addicted to vaping. What do you think about that?
Man, I never thought I'd get hooked. I just thought that it was helping me feel more focused and less restless. You know, it kind of sucks to think that I'm, like, addicted or something.
Based on your answers to the questionnaire, it appears that you're using vapes in a way that is consistent with being addicted. One of the challenges with vapes is that it contains nicotine, the addictive component of any tobacco product. Usually people may start because it is pleasurable, or in your case, it was possibly helping you with some symptoms of your ADHD. But because vapes are addictive, the original intention of using it will almost always turn to addiction to the product.
That's completely crazy, man. No one told me that before. Is the addiction dangerous? I mean, it's not like I'm using drugs, right?
For younger people like you, addictive substances like nicotine can change your brain to make you more vulnerable to other addictive substances in the future. In fact, one of the concerns that many healthcare providers like me have with e-cigarette-like products is that they can be a gateway for young people to use other drugs and even cigarettes because of how addictive they are.
Whoa. That's really messed up.
Sure is. But after hearing all that, on a scale of 0 being not at all important and 10 being very important, how important would quitting be to you right now?
Totally like a 10.
Why a 10 and not an 8 or a 9?
Man, I hate the idea of being addicted. I don't want to have like a crutch or anything.
Then on the same scale of 0 to 10, how ready are you to make that change right now, with 0 being not at all ready and 10 being extremely ready?
I'm ready to make a change like now, but I'm not exactly sure what to do.
Are you ready to make a change like a 9 or 10, or like a 5 or 6?
Oh, I'm definitely ready. Like a 7 or 8.
Why a 7 or 8 and not a 5 or 6?
Well, I totally like to stop because I hate the idea of being addicted and putting bad stuff in my lungs, but when I think about it, it's one of those things I like to do with my friends on the weekends, and I know I want to do it when I get home after school. I'd kind of miss it.
Okay, so it sounds like you really don't like the addiction or possibility of hurting your lungs, but vaping is something that you do with your friends and look forward to doing after school.
Yeah.
What can we do to move your readiness up to a 9 or 10?
I don't know. Maybe if I can get my friends to stop or find some other way to stop using it after coming back from school.
Then on the same scale of 0 to 10, how confident are you that you can stop?
I'm quite confident. I'd say a 10.
Why a 10?
I really, really hate the idea of being addicted or anything. I gotta stop so that I don't get an addicted brain. It's bad enough that I'm taking my ADHD medicine, which is like an amphetamine or something like that.
It seems like you recognize the addictive potential of drugs and you really don't want to be using anything that can lead to addiction in the future.
Yeah, right.
Assist.
How would you plan on stop using vapes?
I don't know. Maybe I could cut down. I'd like to just stop altogether, but if I'm addicted, wouldn't that be like hard or dangerous?
It is true that stopping certain drug use, such as alcohol use, can be dangerous and will require medical monitoring in some instances. However, the challenge in abruptly stopping nicotine-containing products is nicotine withdrawal. This comes from the feeling of depressed mood, poor concentration, irritability, sometimes changes in your appetite, nervousness, and cravings. Maybe we can make a plan of how you can cut down to eventually stop using.
I know when my uncle got emphysema, he used the nicotine patches to quit smoking. Is this something I could use?
I have heard of people quitting e-cigarettes using the nicotine patch.
Could I try it?
Because the nicotine patch is a medication, I would need to obtain your parents' consent before trying it on you. Moreover, most of the studies that show that the patch works have been tried on adults. Do you think we could try some alternatives first?
Sure. What kind of options do we have?
First, it would be good to let your friends know what you know about the possible harms of vapes, especially addiction, and that you want to stop using it. What do you think about that?
I'm sure a few of them are also addicted just like me. I think some of them would want to stop as well, so I'll let them know.
Good. Also, I'd like you to keep a vape calendar for the next week or so to figure out when you vape, for how long, and how you are feeling when you want to vape. How does that sound?
That should be easy.
This will help us figure out your patterns of vaping, and maybe why you use it. For example, if your ADHD medicine isn't quite covering your entire day, we may need to add some short-acting ADHD medicine or something so that you can focus in the evenings after school.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Maybe that could work and help me with concentration and be less fidgety.
It might be worth a try, but we'll be able to tell from your calendar what your patterns might be.
Okay.
Finally, maybe on the weekend, try to take a vaping holiday. Try not to vape for one day and see how you feel. I want you to especially note if you're experiencing any withdrawal symptoms like greater depressed mood or crankiness or poor concentration. Could you do that?
Sure. I'll try that this coming weekend.
Sounds like a plan.
Arrange.
Also, before we finish up our session, I'd like to make you aware that there are several quitting apps.
That's cool. I'd like to try it out.
Are there any other questions that you have, or is there anything else you would like to tell me before we call it a day?
No, but thanks so much for telling me about vapes and how addictive they could be.
You are most welcome. Let's make sure we make an appointment to meet in 2 weeks. In the meantime, create your vaping calendar, try vaping holiday, and look through some of the apps.
I will. Thank you.
For more information on evidence-based tobacco treatment approaches, please see the link below.